صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome to our night 6, to our Back to Basics program. To start off our program tonight, we're going to have a Quran recitation by our brother Ali Juma. Sallu ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Sallu ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ثانية على حب الزهراء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ثالثة بالتعجيل الفرج على الأصوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Yasin, I swear by the Quran full of wisdom. Most surely you are one of the apostles, on a right way, a revelation of the Mighty, the Merciful, that you may warn a people whose fathers were not warned, so they are heedless. Certainly the word has proved true over most of them. Certainly the word has proved true of most of them, so they do not believe. Surely we have placed chains on their necks, and these reach up to their chins, so they have their heads raised aloft. And we have made before them a barrier and a barrier behind them. Then we have covered them over so that they do not see. And it is alike to them whether you warn them or warn them not. They do not believe. You can only warn him who follows the reminder and fears the beneficent Allah in secret. So announce to him forgiveness and an honorable reward. Surely we give life to the dead, and we write down what they have sent before in their footprints. And we have recorded everything in a clear writing. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Thank you, Brother Adil, for that beautiful recitation. Before I introduce our speaker, I want to show you guys the number to my left here. Please text and answer the questions if you can. It would be great feedback for us, so we can learn for future programs. Next we have Sheikh Aus. Please introduce him by Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. That was the most tired salawat I've heard in a while. I know you just had iftar, and jazakumullah khair al-jaza for coming. It's beautiful to see your mu'min faces, your bright faces here. Jazakumullah khair al-jaza. But I know that these bright faces within them contain strong love for Ahlul Bayt. And so our salawat should be a reflection of that. So sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ahsantum, that's much better. واللعنة الدائمة الأبدية على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم وقوله الحق. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in the Holy Quran in the chapter of Al Imran, chapter 3, verse 132. He says, أطيعوا الله والرسول لعلكم ترحمون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, obey Allah and the messenger, lest Allah have mercy upon you. صدق الله العلي العظيم. آمنا بالله. Brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now, in the past nights, we've been going through this logical and intellectual discourse that is really foundational. And when I say foundational, I mean that without this foundation, no matter what information you get, it won't have that much importance as if you have this base to build on. You know, when you build a house, you need a foundation. If you don't, what happens is as the soil moves, the house moves. Sinks a little to the right, sinks a little to the left. It's never really stable, right? So these foundational lectures that you're having here in this center are really important. So not just to you, but also to those around you, I urge you, anybody that you know who is of your friends, who is of your family, who really needs to hear this, bring them. Or tell them to listen online, okay? Or if they miss the lectures, let them listen to the lectures later on, okay? At another time, when they can. You know, listen to it with them, all right? And the reason why I tell you is because I was you one day. I was you. Those who have spoken to me know that I was you one day, okay? I was in your shoes. I know the kinds of challenges we go through in the West. And some of the questions that we're posing in these lectures, actually all of them, all of the questions, the titles of every single lecture are a question that each one of us had at a certain point in our lives, if we don't have them now. So I urge you, please, I want you to learn this foundational information. I don't get anything by telling you this, except inshaAllah thawab of learning. They say the sadaqah of learning is to teach others, right? So I ask inshaAllah that we receive that sadaqah. Ala kulli hal, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now yesterday we proved the legitimacy of the Holy Quran, but there was something missing that we didn't have time to finish up on, and that's what I want to do today at the beginning, and then after that we'll address the question of this lecture, which is, do we need a leader? Okay, so really quickly, I'll just wrap up. And the reason why it's important to wrap up is because it's connected to this question of, do we need a leader or not? Okay, I do encourage you, please take notes. All right, and then approach me after the lecture. I was very happy to see many of you come to me with many questions, a list of them actually, some of you had, right? So Jazakumullah khairan jaza. That makes me very excited because I feel like you're interacting with the knowledge that you're gaining, and that's very, very important. And I pose the challenge. Anyone who can challenge what I'm telling them, please come and challenge me, all right? This is the forum where we can answer these questions for you. All right, so we proved then that the Quran is consistent, and we said that it would have to be consistent, this message of God, because Allah is consistent, He's unchanging, right? So we looked at the Holy Quran, we compared it to the Bible and the Torah. We said over the span of time, since the time of the Bible, since the time of the Torah and the Bible have changed so many times, we don't really know what the original version is, right? However, the Holy Quran from 1400 years ago, 800, 400, 300, 200, 100, today, it's still the very same Quran in the Arabic language, has not changed at all. Now someone might come to you and say, listen, but there are different versions of the Holy Quran. We say, no, not in Arabic. In Arabic, there's only one version. Whether you're in Saudi Arabia or Iran or China, right? Or the United States or Alaska, the Arabic Quran is exactly the same, unchanged from 1400 years ago until this very day. To the tiny little accent on the letters. I challenge you to find me a book that is the same. So that's a great sign to tell us that, well, in terms of consistency, this is great. Now the next thing that we looked at was that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is flawless because He's perfect, right? And if He's perfect, then anything that comes from Him has to be perfect and flawless. Therefore, His message must be perfect and flawless. It must have no contradictions whatsoever. We shared some of the Bible and the Torah, right? From Genesis, we showed that in the Bible it states that Noah was the most righteous of his generation in chapter 7 of Genesis verse 1, right? And then we mentioned that in chapter 9 verses 20 to 25, those verses completely contradict the righteousness of Noah. It states that Noah was naked and drunk in his tent, and we said that that completely contradicts righteousness, correct? And we mentioned some verses from the Bible where it states that one should not be gluttonous, nor should they be a wine bibber, right? And we mentioned in another verse in the Bible where it states that wine is a serpent, right? It states wine biteth like a serpent and stingeth like an adder, correct? So there's a contradiction in the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament. We find many contradictions, right? We also find the issue of the crucifixion, for example, in the Bible. However, we know, because after we proved that the Quran is 100% the message of Allah, it's flawless, doesn't have any contradictions, the Holy Quran actually answers that question, and it says, وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. Neither did they kill him, nor did they crucify him, except it was made to seem as though they did. Right? And we also answered the question from the Holy Quran, because we said one of the things that the Holy Quran has to do, after proving that there are no contradictions in it, that it is consistent, is that it has to not only have information in it that nobody would know about this universe except for the Creator Himself. And I'm not going to go through all of those verses, right? There were many of them, so I want you to review yesterday's lecture if you weren't here. And memorize these verses, because you'll need them. When you're talking to others, you'll need them, okay? And then we mentioned after that it has to come and fix past false claims by other religions or scholars of other religions. And so the Quran comes, corrects the issue of the crucifixion. And we mentioned yesterday that it also corrects the idea of Noah sinning. La samahallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Because we mentioned the verse in the Holy Quran in the chapter of Al Imran, verses 33 to 34, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ اصْطَفَى آدَمَ وَنُوحًا وَآلَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَآلَ عِمْرَانَ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ ذُرِّيَّةً بَعْضُهَا مِنْ بَعْضٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated what in these two verses? He said, surely Allah chose and purified. He selected, handpicked, proverbially speaking, and purified whom? Adam and Nuh. Therefore, Nuh alayhi salam was purified by Allah. He wouldn't sin. He wouldn't defy Allah's commands and be drunk. Wal-'ayadhu billah. So the Quran comes and fixes this idea. So the next thing that's remaining is the whole issue of the miracle of the Holy Quran. Now these are all miraculous things, of course. But the miracle of the Holy Quran is the fact that it came to a people who were a bunch of poets. Right? They were very eloquent in speech. And when I say poets, imagine the poets of our time today are what? Right? The most commonly known poets are usually what? In our time? You can respond. It's a question for you to respond to. I want your interaction.
You're talking living or past?
No, living. Yeah, this time. Rappers. Right? Rappers, am I right? Correct? Spoken word, right? It's all rap, it's poetry. Correct? So the Quran, it comes to a group of people that are all poets. Really, in their time, today we would consider them as rappers. That's really what we would consider them to be. Okay? And you know that when rappers or people of the spoken word, when they get together, right? What do? They challenge each other, correct? To see who's best. So in that time, Hajj was the season for the poets to have the tournament where they would challenge each other and see who's the best poet. And the best poet would have his lines displayed on the sides of the Kaaba. You know, today when you look at the Kaaba in Mecca, you see that black curtain around it, right? And the gold calligraphy around it, correct? Today that's Quran. In those times, that was actually the poetry of the one who won the tournament, the poetry slam. You guys have had poetry slams here, right? So whoever dropped the mic and won, he was the one that ended up getting his verses where? On the Kaaba. And so you can imagine, just as we would speak to each other if we were poets, or rappers would speak to each other and describe the words that are coming to them or that they're hearing as heavy. Whoa, man, that's heavy, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Inna anzalna alayka qawlan thaqila." Surely we have brought upon you heavy words, He says. Isn't that interesting? No, not only that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does He say? You know how rappers, when they first start, usually traditionally, those who know rap, you know, they know that usually they say A to the B to the C, which means look at these letters, A, B, and C, watch what I'm going to do to them. Right? Am I right? Right? So Allah says, Alif Lam Mim, Kafha Ya Ain Sad, Taha Yasin. And watch what I'm going to do with your words. I'm going to create a miracle. And I challenge you. Allah challenges them in the Holy Quran. He says, قُلْ لَإِنِ اجْتَمَعَتِ الْإِنسُ وَالْجِنُّ عَلَىٰ أَن يَأْتُوا بِمِثْلِ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ لَا يَأْتُونَ بِمِثْلِهِ وَلَوْ كَانَ بَعْضُهُمْ لِبَعْضٍ ظَهِيرًا. Say, if man and jinn were to come together to support one another, to come up with a Quran such as this one, surely they would not. He posed the challenge and they weren't able to. Then Allah challenges them. Of course, this was in the chapter of Isra, verse 17, chapter 17, verse 88. Those who want to write it down. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the chapter of Yunus, He says, in the chapter of Hud, He challenges them with 10 chapters. He says, okay, you can't come up with a book, bring me 10 chapters. He says, أَمْ يَقُولُونَ افْتَرَاهُ قُلْ فَأْتُوا بِعَشْرِ سُوَرٍ مِثْلِهِ مُفْتَرَيَاتٍ وَادْعُوا مَنْ اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. He says, oh yeah? You say that he made these words up? Then I challenge you to bring 10 chapters like it, that you've made up. And then bring your people. You know, bring your peeps, right? Bring your posse with you. And let's see who wins. And then when they can't, when they fail, what does Allah say in the Holy Quran in the chapter of Yunus? Of course, that was chapter 11, chapter of Hud, verse 13. In the chapter of Yunus, chapter 10, verse 38, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, again He says, أَمْ يَقُولُونَ افْتَرَاهُ, or do they say that he made this up? قُلْ فَأْتُوا, He says, say to them, بِسُورَةٍ مِثْلِهِ, come with one chapter like it. وَادْعُوا مَنْ اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ, and call your people, call your posse, and let's see who wins. And they lose again. The eloquence in the Holy Quran was described by Walid ibn al-Mughira, who was known to be the poet of poets of his time. He was the Tupac of his time. Right? And what happens? He goes and he listens and he says, my goodness, these words that I've heard, I've never heard words that soar to such heights, nor words that dive into the depths of the deepest of oceans. Surely these are not the words of a human being. So when he goes back to Quraysh, they say to him, we sent you so that you can tell us some bad things about these verses, and here you are, you're supporting. So he says, the best I can come up with is, maybe he's insane. Maybe it's magic. إِنَّهُ لَسِحْرٌ يُؤْثَرٌ. It's magic. So you see, the people of the time were not able to come up with anything like it, even though they were the most eloquent in the Arabic language. In that time, there was no one more eloquent in the Arabic language than those people. Today, therefore, by priority, no one would be able to come up with anything like it, because we don't have that level of eloquence that they had in that time. And even if we did, those who have it are numbered, right? And if they were so eloquent over time, at least they would have been able to change the words of the Quran. And there were many attempts, but no one could. No one was able to. And that's why from 1400 years ago until this very day, this Quran in the Arabic language is exactly the same and unchanged. Now the interpretations in English and Romanian and Russian and Chinese, and depending on which school of thought, that's a different story. But the original text still exists. The Bible, the Torah, original texts don't exist. Right? Whatever texts are available have been changed. In the Holy Quran, this text has not been changed at all. So then there's a verse in the chapter of Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 23. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this verse, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I'm sorry, I got excited when I talk about the Holy Quran, especially the challenge. It's a pretty cool story. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran, He poses, so remember, so far He posed the challenge of come up with a Quran like it. Then He poses the challenge of come up with 10 chapters like it. Then He poses the challenge, come up with one chapter like it, right? Then finally, what does He say? In the chapter of Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala challenges them and He says, come up with a chapter from someone like him. From someone like him. Now, the challenge doesn't become just the Holy Quran. It becomes who has brought you the Quran also. And this brings us to the issue of leadership. Now we know that a country can't be run without a president, right? Right? No matter how tanned he is, at the end of the road, you need a president. A corporation cannot be run without a CEO, right? A project cannot be run without a project manager, correct? A household cannot be run without a father or a mother. A school cannot be run without a principal, right? A class cannot be run without a teacher, right? So just like when we go to school, and in school, the first thing that they give us is a curriculum, an overview of what we're going to take, and then a textbook. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would give us a textbook, just like we would know to give our students textbooks in our systems of education. Allah by priority who gave us the ability to rationalize and think logically, by priority would definitely give us a message, a textbook, the Holy Quran that we proved. But also, in the system of education, we don't just receive a curriculum and a textbook, right? We also receive a teacher. And that teacher has to be qualified. He has to be qualified by the Board of Education or by the university where they studied, right? There has to be a body that qualifies this individual, right? We have to have the system of accreditation. And that person who's chosen for that job is the best person that they could hire for that job. And what's the role of the teacher? The role of the teacher is to teach you what's between the lines, right? Because you could read a textbook, go into an exam, but still not do too well. Does that sound familiar? Oh, they didn't give me any questions from chapter 9. I don't know why. Ya immi or ya bayyi, right? That's why I got the C. Right? Of course, nobody here gets C's. Everybody gets A pluses. So, there must be a teacher that comes with the textbook. We know this. We know to rationalize this, that this is the right thing to do. Therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by priority, He gave us the ability to rationalize and to think. And therefore, He, by priority, would know that we would need a teacher to teach us this Holy Quran. To teach us what's between the lines, right? To help us answer the exercise questions, so to speak, right? To mentor us, correct? Therefore, if I go into a course, I have to be obedient to whom? To the teacher, correct? And if I'm obedient, then the teacher is going to give me not only high grades for my marks, but also for my participation, for my behavior and my manners and so forth, correct? So too, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would provide us with a teacher. It just makes logical sense. The question is, what characteristics must this teacher have? Are you noting a pattern here? Did you notice the pattern that is similar to yesterday's? Yesterday we said that message would have to have certain characteristics. Those characteristics would have to be a reflection of the all-perfect, consistent, unchanging Allah, the all-wise, the all-knowing, and so forth, right? Therefore, the same thing would have to apply here. Because you see, if the person that is placed in such a position is not qualified, would you take him seriously? Let me give you an example. Brother Ali, I come up to you and let's say I'm a smoker. I'm not a smoker. Say no to smoking, okay? Let's say I'm a smoker and I'm puffing a cigarette in your face, okay? Ali, stop smoking. It's bad for your health. Ali, don't smoke. It's bad for your health. Will you take me seriously? No. So imagine if this person states that he is a messenger of God, and yet he's flawed. He makes mistakes. He lies, right? He has bad manners. God tells you to have good manners, but you have bad manners. And you're telling this to someone else. Would you take them seriously? Would you? Who can I pick on? No. Right? Therefore, it makes logical sense that that leader would have to be perfect and flawless also. Why? Because if he isn't, then he becomes a bad reflection on the person who, or the being that, or the existent that placed him in this position. For example, if I have a director of a company and he mismanages the funds, right? Then the CEO of the company is going to be blamed, correct? If the director of the company hires a bad finance guy, right? And he embezzles money, what ends up happening? Who's to blame? The director. And therefore the CEO. You see? So naturally speaking then, logically speaking, there's no way then it could be that Allah, the All-Perfect, would pick someone who's less than perfect for such a position. Because if He did, it would mean that he is less than perfect, that he is flawed. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we proved by intellectual reasoning that He is all perfect. And therefore He can't choose someone and will not choose someone that is less than perfect. And therefore, that's why the verse in the Holy Quran states in chapter 2 verse 23, وَإِن كُنْتُمْ فِي رَيْبٍ مِّمَّا نَزَّلْنَا عَلَىٰ عَبْدِنَا فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِّن مِّثْلِهِ وَادْعُوا شُهَدَاءَكُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. So Allah says, listen, if you are in doubt in that which we had brought upon you, then what you need to do is bring me a chapter from someone like him. And then call your posse. And let's see what happens. Now we proved that the Holy Quran is legitimate 100%. So now we can use verses from the Holy Quran and know, Brother Ali, that 100% these are the verses of God, the creator of all things, right? And so they become purposeful, they become a command, right? So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in that holy verse of Al Imran in chapter 3 verse 132, He says, أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول لعلكم ترحمون. Obey Allah and obey the messenger lest Allah have mercy upon you. Then I understand that the reason why I must obey this messenger is if I want the mercy of Allah to be bestowed upon me, if I want my purpose to be fulfilled in life. Now you might say, but Shaykh, now where does it say in the Holy Quran that he has to be perfect? Allah states in the Holy Quran in the chapter of Najm, chapter 53, verse 3 and 4, He says, وَمَا يَنطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. Surely he does not speak of his whim. He is not but revelation. Everything that he says, everything that he does, whatever direction he walks, is revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because if he looks at someone the wrong way, then what are we going to think of him? Oh, he's imperfect. If he walks in the wrong direction, then we're going to think he's what? Imperfect. And what happens? The stakes are very high here. They're very high. Therefore, the type of leader that we must follow in Islam has to be a reflection of a perfect God. And therefore, it has to be someone like him. The one who even the disbelievers trusted. The one who, when they would leave to Sham for their trade, they would leave their wealth with him and call him as-Sadiq al-Amin. He was known for being truthful. He was known for being trustworthy. By who? By the kuffar, the disbelievers themselves. Therefore, you see that these verses are a reflection not only of the intellectual necessity, but exactly how things should be. Which now tells me that now, not only did I prove that Allah exists, not only did I prove that He is all perfect and unlimited, not only did I prove that He is unchanging, He always existed and will always exist, I also proved that this Quran is truly the book of Allah, and I proved that this messenger, Prophet Muhammad, is truly the messenger of Allah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now the question is, when it comes to the first exercise of looking within myself and my own sense of shyness, that's a reflection of my religion and that's a reflection of my intellect, now my shyness becomes even greater. It becomes, oh, Allah sees me because He's unlimited. But also, the Prophet of Allah, according to a narration in Wasa'il al-Shia, the Prophet states that every morning and every night he sees our deeds, whether good or bad. And if they are good, he asks Allah to multiply our reward. And if they are bad, he does istighfar for us. So the level of shyness now becomes so heightened, right? That now when I contemplate, when I walk, before I talk, the direction I walk, it becomes a reflection of who I am and what I believe in, right? Therefore the stakes are much higher for me now. Because I know that Allah, the All-Perfect, chose me, which means I'm worthy. It was the perfect decision for me to exist. I'm purposeful, right? I was created for a purpose. Now I need to reach my purpose through understanding the Holy Quran and what the Prophet has taught me. But then if the Prophet dies, what do I do then? Inshallah, that's what we'll talk about tomorrow. Is the Holy Quran enough? Is the Holy Quran enough? I ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to see the truth. I ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to challenge whatever knowledge we gain so that we may truly believe in it and so that it may be cemented within our souls. I ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides us all to the brightened path, a straight path, as-sirat al-mustaqim, so that we can be great reflections of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this earth, so that then we can truly be elevated and transcend in this world and in the hereafter to where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to be, Jannat al-Na'im. هذا والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلي يا ربي على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين صلوات والفاتحة على أرواح المرحومين.
Thank you, Sheikh House, for that amazing lecture. Next, we have Dua Iftitah by, again, Brother Ali Jama. Please greet him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
الحمد لله الذي وغناك عنه قدير وهو عني كثير وهو عليك سهل يسير اللهم إن عفوك عن ذنبي وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي وصفحك عن ظلمي وسترك على قبيح عملي وحلمك عن كثير جرمي أنما كان من خطئي وعمدي أطمع عليك في أن أسألك ما لا أستوجبه منك الذي رزقتني من رحمتك وأعيتني من قدرتك وعرفتني من نجاوتك فصرت أدعوك يا إله وأسألك مستأنسا لا خائفا ولا وجلا مدلا عليك فيما وصلت فيه إليك فإن أطلع عني اعتذرت بجهلي عليك ولعل الذي أطلع عني هو خير لي لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور فلن أرى كريما أصنع على عبد دليل منك علي يا رحمن إنك تدعوني فهو الإعان وتتحمل إلي فأتضرر إليك وتتردد إلي فأطلب منك كأنهم ينتظرون عليك فلن يمنعك ذلك من رحمتي والإحسان إليك والتفضل علي من جودك وكرمك فارحم عندك الجاهل وجد عليه بفضل إحسانك إنك جواد كريم الحمد لله مالك الملك مجري الفوق مسخر الرياح خالق الأصوات ديان الدين رب العالمين الحمد لله على كله بعد علمه والحمد لله على عفوه بعد قدرته والحمد لله على طغياناته في وضعه وهو قادر على غيره الحمد لله خالق الخلق وباسط الرزق خالق المصباح بالجلال والإكرام والفضل والإكرام الذي بعد فلا يرام وقرب في شرك النجوى تبارك وتعالى الحمد لله الذي ليس له نافع يعادله ولا شريك يشاكله ولا ظهير يعادله قال بعزته الأعزاء وتواضع لعظمته العظمى فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أناديه ويستر علي كل عورة وأنا أصلي ويعظم النعمة علي فلا أجازي فكم من موهبة هدية قد ويرفع المستضعفين ويضع المستكبرين ويهلك ملوكا ويستخلف آخرين والحمد لله قاسم الجبارين مبين الظالمين وملك الهابلين مكان الظالمين صريخ المستصرخين موضع حاجات الطالبين معتمد المؤمنين الحمد لله الذي من خشيته ترعد السماء وسكانها وترجف الأرض وعمالها وتموج البحار ومن يسمع في ضمادها الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق ويرزق ولا يرزق ويطعم ولا يطعم ويميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وأمينك وصفيك وحبيبك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالتك أفضل وأحسن وأجمل وأكمل وأزكى وأجمل وأطيب وأسمى وأكثر ما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحمدت وسلمت على أحد من عبادك وأنبيائك ورسلك وصفوتك وأهل الكرامة عليك من خلقك اللهم صل على علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحنتك على خلقك وآيتك الكبرى وصل على الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة سيدتي نساء العالمين وصل على الصدق الرحمة وإمام الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين وانصره نصرا عزيزا وافتح له فتحا يسيرا واجعل له من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا اللهم بنبيك وسنة نبيك حتى لا يستخفي بشيء من الحق مخافة أحد بلا السوء